Don't worry, Dr. Fuster, I took extra beta blocker today, so we should be all good to go. We certainly have come a long way since we started medical school. I don't think any of us would have believed it if you told us when we arrived that within less than a year our lives would be transformed, and our hospital would be one of the first in the country to be inundated by a global pandemic. Those first months of the pandemic, quarantining at home and strict social distancing, often feel like a dream, the days blurring together when I try to remember any specific events from that time. As a result, the beginning of medical school feels like it took place in a different era, before masks, symptom checks, and rounds of vaccine rollouts. In-person anatomy dissection in our structures course, when our entire medical school class was together in one room for hours, seems unfathomable today. Healthcare and medical education have adapted to the stressors brought on by the pandemic, and so have we. In this way, we've traveled through a long, dark tunnel, but are now making it to the end of our medical school journey. We are the last class to graduate from Mount Sinai who all began medical school before the pandemic. Because of this, we all had other motivations to practice medicine, other primary drivers in our pursuit of this field. We still own those passions and hobbies we enjoyed at the start, and we can still channel them again when the road ahead appears dark yet again. It is so unnerving to relive the days of being so separate from our friends and family that I avoid engaging with those memories. Making it through that time, though, was no small feat. Students, staff, and faculty banded together to seamlessly continue our medical school trajectory, transitioning to Zoom lectures and remote learning in the blink of an eye. Dr. Leisman checked in on us with daily emails during our physiology course as news, rules, and guidance were changing rapidly. The instability of that time was disarming and paralyzing, as the future was uncertain and the new developments were rarely positive. Nevertheless, we continued studying for exams, performing clinical clerkship duties, and conducting research. We also volunteered in a wide variety of roles in and around our health system. We helped organize the distribution of clinical supplies and the development of new clinical operations. We mobilized to support frontline workers by supplying meals and providing childcare while they were in the hospital working. We also advocated, petitioned, and protested for communities that were disproportionately affected by the pandemic, pushing the medical community to examine its practices and whom it ultimately serves best. Often, when I think what it means to be resilient, the images that come to mind are of valiant heroes surmounting improbable odds, like those in fables or grand epic poems. Today, I want to challenge that idea. In the midst of catastrophic times, continuing to work as we had before, and even starting new initiatives in the face of so much death and in the setting of our profession being completely restructured is in itself an act of resilience. When you're frustrated, tired, confused, and unsure, getting up the next day and continuing on is an act of defiance against destabilizing forces. I can't go on, I will go on. For me, this has never been more true than with my own significant health challenges during medical school, which I have been open about with my Mount Sinai family. After experiencing months of worsening exertional back pain, I was diagnosed with significant coronary artery disease. A tidal wave of questions I didn't know how to answer ran through my head after a positive stress test. How and why is this happening to me? What happens next? And how will this change the rest of my life? I ultimately had to have a stent placed in a coronary artery at the end of my second year. The days and weeks afterwards were frightening, like the floor had dropped out from underneath me and I was just falling. It challenged any preconceived notions I had about my career and forced me to wrestle with my own mortality. During stressful times in my life like this one, I try to envision my network of supporters, family, friends, classmates, mentors, colleagues, and physicians, past and present, all lining up behind me when I'm feeling most alone and dejected. This exercise reminds me that even in those daunting situations, I have a village behind me, and that makes even the worst possible scenario manageable. I will never forget how they had to put me in a large room because of all the visitors I had, since so many of those visitors had their own Mount Sinai IDs. I feel incredibly fortunate that I'm still here and will get the chance to practice medicine thanks to so many of you here today. Remembering our original motivations for medicine, taking it one step at a time, and identifying our communities of support will permit us to continue being resilient as we move into the next phase of not only the pandemic, but also our careers in medicine. Never forget that we can rise to any new challenge that comes our way because we've done it before together. Thank you.